Josh Bagby, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. How you doing?
We're good.
Good.
It's a Friday, so that's it, man. We made it halfway through the week, or what it feels like halfway through the week.
Right.
Weekend incoming, which is always good. So
Absolutely.
it's good. The weeks go by too fast, man.
Yeah, they always do. They always do.
Sneak up.
I'm amazed. We just had my first child, and it's like he's 7 months now, and it's like, how did 7 months go by? It's crazy.
That's my advice for first-time dads, though. Is like, stick with it for the first 3 months because it sucks. Like, it's awful, and nobody tells you that. And I'll never forget. Your wife has got the whole kind of lead up getting ready for a kid. Like, you feel it, body's changing, all that kind of stuff. There's a connection there, and like until that birthday, you're like, man, your whole life changes immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going, what did I do? It's kind of like marriage too. It's like, everybody, why are you getting married so young? I was 23 when we got married, and I'm like, man, you know what? I was like, marriage can't be that bad. Like, every time I get nervous about it, I'd be like, there's people get married 5 times. I was like, if it was awful, they wouldn't do it. Same thing with kids. I'm like, there's people got 9 kids, man. With the Duggars had 18. I'm like, having kids can't be that bad. Somebody finally told me, you kind of get that little resentment those first 3 months, and you're like, I've screwed my life up by having this kid. And you feel like a terrible person. And somebody told me, it's like, no, man, it's totally normal. Like, everybody, it sucks for everybody the first 3 months. Just at 3 months, something will click, and it completely changes after that. And I was like, all right. And I was about 3 weeks from it being 3 months, and no joke. So I tell every first-time dad that now. Like, as soon as their wife gets pregnant, I'm like, look, just know right now, whatever happens in the first 3 months, it gets better. And there's so many guys will text me back like, man, you nailed it. And I'm like, hey, what? Trust the science.
Right. How many kids do you have now?
2. So
2.
we got
Okay.
a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old. They're 19 months apart, and that was tough. So the first 18 months of my youngest life, like having 2 that close was hard.
Right.
But at 18 months, it exponentially got better. Now they're best friends, and it's cool to see that. It was a definite perk of having them that close together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, man. It's about time.
Yeah.
7 months.
7 months. It was kind of a crazy. So me and my wife, same kind of thing. We got married young. She wanted kids pretty much right away. It took a little bit longer, especially we grew this business right away. So we had a lot of life changes. We got married, opened this business, and then had a baby. Like boom, 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 all in within like a 2.5 year period. So, but she kind of had a little bit of trouble with pregnancy toward the end.
Too, yeah.
Ended up having the baby at 30 weeks at Northside Cherokee. So it was a little bit, unprepared. You have this expectation how you want it to go, and it completely went differently.
My thing was the due date. I had the due date in my head, and my wife's like,
February 4th.
They're like, you should have like a bag ready to go. And I'm like, no, like the due date's this. She goes, that's not really how this works. Like, it's a suggestion. So when they're that early, our daughter was 3 weeks early, and even that was close. She had a July due date, born in June. And I just could not get in my head that it was not July yet. Like, we shouldn't be having a baby again. So it was wild. But yeah, shout out to Northside too.
Absolutely. Hey, they did great care. They did an amazing job, and God bless them.
That's what we had both ours at Northside in Atlanta.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So a burning question, I'm sure you get asked this a million times. So you founded Cherokee Connect, man of Cherokee County, some call him.
Oh.
What's the story behind that? And so you actually founded and created the group, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I hit the button to get it started, man. That was about it. It was funny. There's a guy that texted me like that same day, and he had the same background image or one of the same background images that I had thought, and he had almost the exact same name, and he just had it in pending, and he hadn't posted it yet. So it was one of those things. I just kind of look at the draw, man. I think I don't know. I say that, but I had a strong network before we moved here when I was 9 years old, 4th grade on, 6 is elementary, Teasley Middle, Cherokee High School, Georgia and back. And you just build that network just living life, man, from youth sports to church to, high school, all that stuff, man. And Facebook was pushing groups at the time. That was kind of their next wave of what they were trying to do to kind of set themselves apart from the other social media groups. And I was like, man, that makes sense. I would get people doing insurance for them that I'm the only person they know in town. And so they would email me, text me, call me, whatever. Hey, where do you get your tires done? Hey, we bought this house and it's got these gaudy doorknobs and cabinet pulls and all this kind of stuff. Like, who can we get to swap that out? So I would just constantly hand my network out to people. I was like, man, it makes sense. Let's just put them all in one spot. Let's give it a shot, and I can add people as they come. Hopefully it speeds up this place feeling like home to them, like, because you want that the good old boy kind of connections. Like, you want to feel like you know everybody. And it was kind of a virtual way to do that. And then, by the end of the week, there were a couple thousand people there. So I ran like a little giveaway for a $50 gift card or something, and people were inviting people by the hundreds. And so it came into the first week's a couple thousand. And then I realized somebody told me that Must Ministries needed red sauce and peanut butter. So I made a post in there, and I was like, Lady at Must told me this is what they need. And if you've got some you want to drop off or whatever, that'd be great. And I posted it, and like by the end of the next day, she goes, please make whoever you're talking to stop bringing red sauce and peanut butter. And so, like, they were loaded up, and it was cool. So I was like, man, this is neat. And using it from a nonprofit standpoint, they don't have Must and Goshen, and like the bigger ones have, some budget and some marketing people and fundraising people, but the majority of them don't. Most of the time it's a passion for somebody, and they're wanting to go run this thing down, and they kind of figure out the money part as they go. And I was like, man, there's no, newspapers are, it's a print media is tough. It's expensive if you want to get some stuff out. It's not real time. And even email newsletters are still kind of a thing. They were then too, but like, it's hard to build that list. It's hard to get people. It's hard to get through spam filters and all that. And I was like, man, they can use this 2,000 people at the time to get their needs out. Or, hey, if they have something that they can offer people, they can post that too. And so just letting them do that for free. And then once all that started coming into play, then I realized the impact it could have on local businesses. I get once a week, somebody will be like 75-80% of my business comes out of Cherokee Connect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, so that's kind of the three, you get the local people, there's a need there for them. They need the contractors. They want to know about the nonprofits. They want to help. A lot of them don't even know how to help. They don't know, especially if you're new, you don't know the ones that have been here that are legit, that are there making an impact. So it's a way for them to find it. The businesses want to advertise to the people, and it just it works, man. Try to keep it as positive as social media can be, which is, hey, dude, it's a train wreck some days, but that's part of what keeps people looking at it too.
Yeah.
You can't look away from some of the stuff that goes on in there. But at the end of the day, man, like, again, it impacts local businesses. The nonprofits are getting what they need. People are able to get some help. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens in there. But yeah, it keeps us busy. There's like 7 moderators in there now that help me with it, so that I can do stuff like this during the day.
Yeah.
Early on, that was October of 2019 when launched it. And then we had COVID hit that next March, which was just a crap show, man, in there. People were freaking out, but I think that's kind of what congealed it all. Was they needed a place to communicate quickly and easily, and so everybody was drawn to it to try to make heads or tails of what we were doing, and then, or what the world was doing. And then the local businesses were able to kind of real time change how, especially restaurants, how they were doing food, and how, RCB, Riverstone Corner Bistro, they had an old drive-through window at their location at the time. They opened that thing up and were bulk ordering groceries for people because Publix, like, the shipments were getting funky, and so people were able to get groceries from that and find out how to do it. And so it was cool to see it meet needs real time like that. Luckily since then we haven't really had any crazy stuff happen, not anything to that level. But then you had the riots. That was a whole big thing that summer. You had a presidential election, so it was put through the fire in that first year. But it was cool to be able to kind of help try to guide the conversation and just kind of let people know that we're gonna be okay once we get through this thing. But yeah, it's ever changing, ever growing. It's 105,000 people now. I think there's 250,000 in the whole county. So I mean, it's a lot of people. Some of there's people outside the county too. But I don't know, man. It's a weird lightning in a bottle situation. And people give me credit for it, but again, I just hit the button, and we've got a cool community here. I mean, you're not from here, but you can feel like you're from here. Like, people are very welcoming to it. Like, you may have lived here 30 years, but you were from somewhere else anyway. So it's a cool thing. But I don't know. I love it. haven't lived a ton of other places in my life, but there's something special about this place.
Absolutely. Well, it's a community, and that's what attracted me. I think the group works so well because of how Cherokee County is already as a community.
It's connected,
And I think it just reflects it perfectly, and that's why I think it's been
It's
so
just
successful.
A way to scale it.
Exactly.
Is all it is.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what attracted me to want to move to Cherokee County was, my wife and I'm from West Virginia, born and raised. My wife's from D.C. I came down here for chiropractic school. She got a job out of college at like her dream job working for the federal government, like one of the top agencies, top security clearance. And she's like, I'm going to go do this. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go learn how to be a chiropractor. So we're like, see ya. We're dating for like a year and a half at that point. So we said, all right, we're just going to do the distance thing. So I moved down here to Atlanta, and she went to DC, and we did that for 4 years basically. And then she finally was able to relocate down here to Fort Gordon at the time in Augusta, and I was working in an office down in South Atlanta, and we kind of just made it work. But when it came time to like, hey, we want to open a clinic, we looked around where we wanted to go. We decided, hey, we want to stay in the Atlanta area. We actually really grew fond of this area. We looked more north suburb, looked at Alpharetta, Milton, Roswell, all great places. And our wedding photographer was like, y'all need to check out Woodstock. Like Cherokee County is the next thing. You guys got to go there. So we're like, never been there in 4 years. I never, so I was like, all right, we'll go check it out. We drove down through Woodstock and went to a few other, places, checked out Kit, and we're just like, this is it. Like, we never found a place that felt like home, and we were just like,
it's small town
place
enough.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I always make a joke, like, your office here on Highway 92, and to me, I got a buddy that lives right down the road, and he's on the south side of Highway 92, and I call him south of the wall, right? So the Game of Thrones stuff. Like, I rarely leave the county, and that may be a small-minded thing or whatever, but like there's so much here. You don't really have to leave.
No.
And if you do, man, you're going 10 miles outside the county.
Right.
It's not like we're having to commute a long way, but it still holds on to that small town charm somehow.
Right.
I was talking to a lady yesterday, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever, like you know Kevin Bacon somehow, and here it's like you're 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like if you know a couple people, you know the whole county, which is it's a neat kind of vibe. And I think if you go, when I do leave the county and I go into a restaurant or something, it bugs me that I don't know anybody in the restaurant. And I think that's cool. I think there's a lot of people that do the same thing. Like that's part of what makes it feel like home, and that of 100 people, you should know at least one of them,
right.
Which is it's a cool thing.
You're born and raised here?
Me? No.
Okay.
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga,
so outside Chattanooga. Moved here. My dad got transferred with SunTrust Bank during the Olympics in '96. I was 9 years old, so came down for 4th grade, started here, and so now it's home now.
Right.
But yeah, back then we were back and forth to Chattanooga a lot. My grandparents still live there. My parents have since moved back, but yeah, it's I think they were expecting me to move back, but after college I was like, man, this is home. So
yeah, Chattanooga, that place has changed a lot.
It's a cool, yeah. It's a neat town. I like going up there.
Exactly, yeah. What So people might not know this too. So you played football, a little bit of UGA,
a little bit, not a whole lot.
What was the story? So you played football here?
Yeah. So Cherokee High School,
Yep.
And it's funny. I was never the best player on my team, any team, from Little League through high school. We had some dudes, and it was one of those. Loved being a role player, and I was decently athletic. But the only thing that made me good was a work ethic. And I was a gym rat, and I feel like I'm smarter kind of than the average. And so if I could figure out how to get an advantage through play schemes and knowing what your offense is doing and that kind of thing, that was what made me halfway decent. And took a scholarship out of high school down to Georgia Southern, and had a coach that believed in me down there, brought me down, was there for a year. I redshirted and all that kind of stuff. We had a coaching change. I didn't fit the scheme anymore. And, man, I was done. I was burnt out. Hated Statesboro. I was just ready to get out. And so I had the Hope Scholarship. So I transferred to Georgia just to be a student, finish it out. Felt like I didn't love how football ended. Felt like I had quit, which ate at me. Like I'd never quit anything in my life. So I was like, this just doesn't feel right. So it was eating at me. Georgia was pretty good. They came off the Sugar Bowl in 2007. Stafford was coming back. No Moreno was back. AJ Green was coming in.
They played West Virginia in that Sugar Bowl, didn't they?
No, that was Hawaii. They
okay.
railroaded Hawaii.
Hawaii, okay.
In the black. That was the Colt Brennan Hawaii team. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, they might win a national championship next year, and that would be awesome. So I had a couple buddies that had walked on, touched base with them. Trip Chandler, shout out, Woodstock native. He's the dude that lives south of the wall here. He was there, reached out to him about walking on, and he's like, yeah, man, I'll do it. So I did. I go in. This is like the week after the Sugar Bowl, so like January. And go up, knock on the door. Coach Tereshinsky was the walk-on coordinator. Never even turned around from his computer. It's like, hey, Coach, think about walking on. All right, yeah, be outside the elevator at 2 o'clock tomorrow. I was like, oh, tomorrow? Like, we're just going. I was thinking I was going to have some time, get back in shape and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, just wanted to be a student, wanted to finish kind of the football career thing, see if I can make it. Maybe they cut me, and that would be a good hard close, so I get some closure to it. There were 17 of us trying to walk on, and they ended up cutting it down to 3 or 4 of us by the end of mat drills and spring ball and all that. And then what's funny is Tripp was on kickoff return. He started at tight end for 2.5 years, 3 years at Georgia, and he gets hurt in the Alabama game, and him getting hurt gave me my opportunity to play on special teams. So appreciate him doing that. Faking an injury for me, but he just didn't want to play special teams. I know what's up. He was for real hurt, but it did. It was cool, and that's it's been life changing in a lot of ways. Just it's cool being able to see your school's logo on so many places. Now obviously the last several years we've been really good, but you get to see leadership on a whole bunch of different levels too. You get to see you had great high school coaches, little league, middle school coaches, all the way up. You get to see what leadership looks like in a lot of different ways. You get to coach Rick. You see that you can do it right on a big scale and be a high character individual and be really successful with it. And so it was neat to see that. And then the work ethic, that was the only thing I was not even close to being the best player at Georgia. Are you kidding me? And it was just work ethic and trust. I asked my running backs coach, I was a fullback there, why he, like when I was getting ready to leave, I was like, why did you let me play? And he just said, he's like, man, I could look in your eyes and tell I could trust you. I was like, man, it's still a chill bumpy kind of thing. And it's something you hold on to. And really doing what I do now with insurance, it's the same kind of thing. People trust you with, like our company motto, slogan, kind of mission statement is protecting your priorities. And that's what it is. Like people trust us to protect their stuff. And it all kind of comes full circle, man.
Right.
So it's neat, man. But yeah, so a little bit of an athlete, played special teams, got to play against Tim Tebow. Got to play in a bowl game. There was some really cool stuff, and so it did. It gave me some good closure, and I don't know that it has changed my business career or anything from doing it, but it's a great conversation starter for sure.
No, absolutely. The mindset aspect. Do you feel that was something that you had to create yourself, or was just more naturally instilled to you at a young age?
It was parents. Yeah, it was my parents. I feel like I was kind of raised a generation older than what it was. We grew up on a farm. We had a farm. There's still a family farm in Chattanooga. My parents are back on it. We had one before we moved down here, and going back and forth to kind of try to help. It's just a mentality, man. If you see somebody working, like you're working. It wasn't a ton of. We played little league sports and all that kind of stuff going on, but it wasn't a ton of play time. It was more we're working together. So it was just kind of something that if you work hard at something for a long time, it ends up not feeling like work after a while. And so that's
right.
kind of the working out part. I loved action movies. My dad loved action movies growing up, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Schwarzenegger and all, just jacked dudes. So I enjoyed working out and trying to get like that. And so when I realized that could impact how I played and how nutrition impacted that, I didn't drink a Coke for like a decade, So like just trying to avoid that kind of stuff, to be what little God-given ability I had, was trying to just maximize it as much as I could, and then use my academic gifts, I guess, to try to supplement that. And then team sports were huge for me, because I realized, like I said, never been the best athlete, but I could use my gifts to help people be better. Like if they were, I don't know, just ultimate role player thing to where we're so much better together than we are individually. And now that has transferred in the business world, and the work ethic has transferred in the business world. But, for us in insurance, you get salespeople that can be really good, but they're terrible at service. A lot of them are. You get service people that are awesome at service, but they're terrible salespeople. But man, when you put those people together, now you got a team that is just unbelievable. And so trying to find a way to kind of, if you're an A salesperson but a D service person, why train you to maybe be a C service person? Why don't we just lean into you being an A plus salesperson and supplement you with somebody that is really good, and to where now the client is ultimately taken care of with both people. So that's kind of the goal, and I've seen it play out time and time again, and that's really even in my role now more as it feels dumb to say it, but like a CEO spot without a COO. Like, you can be a dreamer and a planner and have big ideas, but man, the boots on the ground part and the processes, that part's hard. I'm not very organized, but you hire people that are organized to kind of help supplement what you're doing. So like my business coach is kind of my fractional COO. I've got an operations manager in my office that helps us kind of put that all together to make it work. But just kind of realizing your weaknesses and seeing, you got a head coach and Coach Rick that's very much a figurehead and kind of the face of the franchise, but you got two coordinators that are the COOs of what they're doing to really kind of put the rubber on the road. But it's cool to see how sports and life and everything is tied together. Like, what makes you successful at one thing will generally make you successful at something else.
Yep. I think success, it's a principle.
It is.
More than anything can be replicated.
Yep.
Right? Did you feel, I'm curious, because you were at Georgia Southern, came up to UGA, which is just a totally different caliber of an organization.
Back then, it was 1AA too. Georgia Southern was. They weren't even
right.
D1
weren't even what they were today, right? Yeah. What was it like? I'm sure that had been kind of a shock, not just in the level of athleticism, but what was it even from more of the organizational level? Like, did you feel like, whoa, like this is way different?
The resources are completely different,
yeah.
Especially at the time. Our high school locker room was better than Georgia Southern's locker room when I got there. I realized there was a reason they didn't show it to me. Yeah, I realized they didn't show it to us on our official visit. So like the first day we go in there, I'm like, man,
locker room's over there, yeah, and here's this stuff over here. Yeah.
It was crazy, man. There was a lot of other stuff they wanted to show you in Statesboro, but that was not it. So you the structure of what they were trying to do was the same, and that's even at like a high school level and everything. And I'll say the physical fitness part, the training part at Georgia Southern was I'd say leaps and bounds ahead than what Georgia had at the time. Yeah. From a leadership standpoint, in the science, kind of what you do here we had GAs that were tracking the depth of our squats, the weight. They would you'd max out. They had your max from the season. You go into the summer workout program, and they would have that thing divided out. This is how many sets you're doing, this is how many reps you're doing, and they'd watch your last 2 or 3 sets, and if you didn't hit them, they'd adjust the weight and move it forward. At Georgia, man, they wrote it on a board, and we went in there, and if you wanted to do it, great. If not, there wasn't a ton of there wasn't what it is now.
Right.
And so you could see people progress. And at Southern, it was like somebody hit fast forward from high school, right? The speed changes, and you'll have the biggest dude you've ever seen, but he can't really move laterally. Or you'll have the fastest dude you've ever seen, but he's 5'6" and 165 pounds. And you're like, okay, so they're kind of piecing together, trying to make the best team that they can. You go to Georgia, and it was like somebody hit fast forward again. Like, you're probably too young to even remember, man, but on the old VCRs, you hit fast forward once, and it kind of went one speed, you hit it again, and it was like double. That's what it felt like, man. It was moving so fast. And then you look around, and you're going, this middle linebacker is the biggest, fastest human being I've ever seen in one body in my life. Oh, and we got 85 more of those same kind of guys, like especially at that level, a top 10 program. Even back then, I went back and counted on the roster one time. There were 40-something dudes that got looks in the NFL on that one roster. A number 1 overall pick, several first-round picks, some of the highest paid players in the NFL in their positions were there. I mean, Justin Houston was there, Rashad Jones was there. I mean, there were a lot of people that you don't really think about. Geno Atkins was there. A lot of dudes on that team, and you just get to see it, and you're like, man, all men are not created equally, because I could work out every day of my life, and I'm never going to be those guys. But it was neat to see it in different levels, but the principles were the same.
Yeah.
Hard work, showing up, doing the right thing always pays off,
Right.
no matter what level of program you're at. High school, middle school, little league, it all translates.
Right. Exactly. So what was sort of life like after college? I mean, so you made it through college, got through, played a little bit of UGA, pretty cool. What did sort of was it something like going through college you sort of knew? I mean, obviously you're in the insurance world now. Did that sort of play out naturally, or how did that kind of transform?
No, man. So I was a finance major. I mentioned my dad worked for SunTrust Bank in Atlanta, so I was going to get into banking in some form or fashion, and so it made a lot of sense going into my senior year. And then this is fall of 2008, and the banking crisis happens. I mean, they're closing banks, like shutting them down. Not just, I mean, it was bad. My dad got hit with the third round of layoffs at SunTrust. So there went all my connections at the bank. I'll go into when Lehman Brothers failed, never forget, it's like my 8 o'clock class. I go in, and this dude is sweating. Like, he's panicked. And he tells us all go change our majors. He's like, the world economy's over. I was like, oh man, this is terrible. I'm like, you know what though? Let's see what my 930 guy says. And so we go to 930. He's like, look, it's cyclical. 7 years, you'll be back. Don't make any rash decisions. So I'm like, well, I'm too deep now. I'm just going to get a finance degree and we'll figure it out. Yeah. Started dating my wife December of that year, and I thought I was going to come back to play. I had labrum surgery that February, and I realized, like, this is not going to be a quick bounce back. My Hope Scholarship was running out. I was graduating. I thought I was going to get that fifth year, that redshirt year. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, like, they're not going to give me a scholarship with one arm. And so I was like, crap, I got to scramble and kind of find a job. Well, there were 75 college graduates per open job in the market at the time. Wow. So the only people that would call me back were insurance companies for interviews. Katie's dad had a 34-year career in insurance. He was still in it at the time, and he's like, hey, if you're going to work in insurance, you need to work for Alpha. And that's, he was at Alpha for so long. So I did that for 11 years. But yeah, it's kind of every washed up former athlete ends up in insurance somehow. So it's a natural fit, man. But it was cool. It was the same kind of work ethic was what in the beginning, it's a lot of hours. It's a lot of trying to learn how to do it. A lot of conversations. I enjoy talking to people, so it was a good natural fit. And I ended up he put me in an office that was 2 miles from the house I grew up in. Eventually, like, there's a guy who gave a 2-week notice to retire. I had been working for another agent for 6 months, and they're like, man, we just need somebody that knows the system and just man this for a little while. We'll see what happens. I was 22, popped in there, opened the first agency, and here we are. This is year 15. That was January 1st, 2010 was when I opened that one, and now we're rock and rolling. I was there at Alpha 11 years. We started the brokerage, which is kind of the next phase of insurance for us, opened us up to a lot more people. And the team, I had a team of 1, maybe 2 people there, and we're a team of 16 now in 3 years. So it's been a rapid growth, a rapid learning thing, and a lot of learning how to delegate, learning how to lean on your team members, learning how to hire good people. It was a lot, man. But the more you kind of see it with, at Georgia, you realize coordinators can make or break you. Position coaches can make or break you. And so you got to hire well and hire high character people. And that's what we try to do now. Yeah.
What do you look for most, in the interview process if you're trying to hire? Are you obviously the skill position, but are you looking more like what qualities are you looking for then?
It's character, man.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
And like, if we're on the same page with that, the industry will weed you out if you don't have character, let alone, character with us. So it is very, in the world, the more I've learned, it's very much not what you know, it's who you know. And that helps a lot. I'm going to trust what other people are saying about you, how they know, if they've known you forever. That's another perk of hiring locally here. You kind of know, somebody knows that person. So you kind of do your own little background on that. Insurance experience is big. It's hard for us to train quickly. We deal with 15, 20, 30 carriers, and so it's hard to learn that many of them. So you got to have a good basis. But yeah, character above all else.
Right, absolutely. What kind of, do you guys specialize in a particular type of insurance or more broad spectrum?
Auto, home, commercial, life insurance, everything but health insurance. 'Cause
Okay.
When Obamacare rolled out, it became a whole.
Oh yeah.
It was a whole different beast,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
My backdrop here, my whole family in the insurance industry. I thought I was going to go in the insurance industry. My parents, grandparents.
still time.
Yes, yeah, right. Chiropractor by day, insurance brokerage by
Dude,
day.
man, why not?
Yeah, we do a little Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Go sell them a
Tuesday,
health plan
yeah.
that covers chiropractic
Chiropractic.
stuff, man.
That's the
it.
goal.
That's
That's
the
a
way
good
to double
strategy.
dip.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah, that's
Good cross-sell.
I won't send you a consulting fee for that one.
So my parents my dad worked for Erie for the longest time.
Great company. Yeah.
His big thing was he was just got sick and tired of just the quotas you had to make. This is the way to do that. For him it was.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Well, he's not a competitive person, Like for you, I'm sure. Like, I get you a number. You're like, let's get it. Let's get that in a week. Like,
there was a time in my career when it was like that. It's different now.
Right.
But my people they do it internally, man. They just want to compete against each other.
Exactly.
Which is cool, and that is a great quality to have. It kind of rolls into the character thing, but
right.
Yeah, Erie's a good company, man.
It is, yeah, it is. So he got, so he left that. He ended up leaving an agency, then he just started his own agency, and he kind of did, mix of different things. He ended up finding he gravitated really well to Medicare. He just loved the laid backness of it, working with older people, the clientele.
Yep.
So West Virginia, a lot of old people, so it made sense.
That's right.
So he does that. It's the only thing he does now is just straight Medicare.
Well, and the way that schedule sets up, like it's like a 2-month open enrollment or something. You just work real hard for 2 months.
2 months, and it's coasting. You're just coasting.
Yeah.
So they're getting ready for a lot of changes happening in Medicare this year. So they're already kind of working on it. But it's kind of, he wasn't, it's more of I wouldn't say he's entrepreneurial, but I wouldn't even say he's more of an entrepreneur, more like an independent, like he said, hey, he doesn't have any employees or team, but he created exactly what he wanted to. He instilled like, hey, I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I want to be independent. So he created his own thing, just him. It's him and his wife, my mom, kind of work together and they do their thing. He spends $0 on marketing, 100% internal referrals. That's how it is.
I get it. Like at a time in my life, I would have been a great soldier, great employee. The plan for me was kind of to do. Actually, I originally wanted to be a orthopedic surgeon. That's a whole different story. But then rolling the business, I'm like, oh man, climb the corporate ladder. Like you got goals and set it up, and then now I realize, man, I would be terrible working for somebody else because I've done my own thing for so long. I thrive in structure. I've struggled building my own structure, and so trying to find that happy medium of it. But I'm a builder. Like I enjoy franchise mode in Madden growing up. Like
it's my jam.
I'm mixing it up. The old shout out NCAA football game coming out again, 10-year hiatus, but played a ton of that growing up. Loved kind of building all that stuff, and so that's kind of the way I view business and growing stuff like this now. It's just how what can you do? What can you build? Why? That was the issue with Alpha. I hit a ceiling there. It was as big as it was ever going to be. So there's got to be something else. Like I can't coast. And so it was a hard reset, man. I went from making pretty good money to zero. Shout out to my wife for not bailing on me when I was like, hey, you know what? Next month we may not make any money. And she, trusting the Lord, and this whole thing has been. That's why the name of the agency is Providence, man. There's a whole guiding principle. He's looking out for us in a lot of different ways to help that thing be successful, and trying to use it for good in the community. That's the other part of it. Being able to take care of people, but the goal is to be like a beacon for good in the community, whether that's a good employer that's doing good things in the community, helping people when their house catches on fire, that kind of stuff. But just being a kind of like the Coach Rick thing, where you can do it right, you can do it well, and you can be successful doing it, and just kind of trying to help as many people along the way as we can. Like I get calls from random businesses and agencies and all that, just wanting to pick my brain, man. I'm more than happy to do it because it's, I've done it to so many people so many different times, and I want to see them build something that can change their family and change our community as well. So I'm a big one of our core principles. We got 4 of them, and teamwork makes the dream work's one of them, and that has stuck with me my whole life, and it continues to serve us well. So the community is a big team, man. That's all we are.
Absolutely, it is. You got to treat people right, one person at a time, and things just go from there. You know, it's kind of like that, comparing it back to athletics. You know, we always see that good athlete, but cringe personality.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, Bryson DeChambeau, man.
We were just talking about him.
You hate that guy. And then, like, all of a sudden, maybe he gets a new PR guy or something. Everybody loves him. It's like, it's so different. Like, there's such a boost from that, kind of not playing the heel. And I think I'm glad to see him embrace that. You know, politically, there's people that should probably embrace the same kind of stuff. But it helps when you feel like you've got the whole community behind you, which I feel like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's momentum in that, and it's a rising tide lifts all ships type mentality, man. So if one person's doing well, you're going to pull other people with you, and that's, I think, you know, Bryson's kind of starting to figure that out, that you can't do it on your own. You can't be just that guy. I think some of the quarterbacks figure that out.
Right.
If they don't, you're only going to be so successful. It takes a whole team. Brady's not the most gifted athlete, but man, he was surrounding himself with a lot of great people.
Exactly.
Took pay cuts to make stuff work. But yeah, we're all in this thing together, man.
Absolutely.
Life's a team sport.
Exactly. It 100% is. It 100% is, and I love all that. Let's get to some rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
What you got?
All right. So the end hit you some rapid fires and some questions I wanted to ask you, but I have them here, so it'll be perfect.
You're good. Yeah.
All right. So we got 3 categories, basically: sports, business, and life. Okay.
Okay.
So sports, I know the answer to at least one of these. Favorite sport teams?
Dogs, man.
Of course.
Dogs, Braves. NFL is a little different. It's kind of weird.
You follow the NFL much?
I mean, I do, but I'm not like. I think Stafford's last year, which makes me feel old. Everybody that I played with is retired except him, so I'm really holding on for him to do big things. I was pumped when he won the Super Bowl. That was cool. You know, we're not like buddies or anything, but it's cool to see him do well. And so, yeah, I mean, it's more you watching players and personalities that you like with the NFL. But yeah, I mean, dogs, baby.
Absolutely. Love it. If you could have a redo moment in your athletic career, what would that moment be?
So I was offered preferred walk-on out of high school to Georgia. Me and a couple other guys. You know, you take the money in the scholarship to go to Southern, and like looking back, you would say, "Man, why would just go to Georgia right out of high school?" But I don't think I'd do it, man. I think from you learn a lot through failure and perseverance and trying to push through it. So I don't know that I'm who I am today without going to Statesboro for the year and then going. So there's not. I'll say that. I think junior year of high school, man, I would be tugging on my coach's shirt to get our quarterback out playing Pope when we're up 35-14 in the fourth quarter, and he's in there running the clock out, and he breaks his shoulder blade, man. And I think that was our shot at a state championship. Was had he not gotten hurt, we didn't really have a backup quarterback. We got our next best athlete, who was incredible, but just, you know, he's more of a running back. And we just went 2 tights with 2 fullbacks, and we just pounded it all the way to the third round of the playoffs, which was great. But I think if you make it to the third round of the playoffs with your backup quarterback, if we had him, man, I think it could have been different. So that would have been the only thing, but that would have been fun for all of us to get to experience. But nah, man, I'm happy. There's not a lot of decisions that I regret, because you look back at it, and especially once you get to the other side, you can kind of see what God was trying to teach you in that moment. And there's a reason that you went through what you went through.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Business. Okay. So this is a hypothetical.
Okay.
Because we still got long careers ahead of us. But let's just say, fast forward, you're retired and you've put your successful career at Providence and beyond at rest.
It's easy. I'm trying to do it right now. But Providence.
Right.
Trying to.
As a part of living out your golden years, you've decided to start a new, exciting retirement venture. What is it?
Like the Mamba Academy. I want to do it now. You know the Dude Perfect guys? Have you ever seen the Dude Perfect guys?
Mm-mm.
So they're about my age, but they were like the ultimate trick shot video guys. They've got an app. I mean, they have 50 million YouTube subscribers. Like, it's good, wholesome. Like, they're good guys, and they've been really successful with it. But they've got this incredible office. I'm looking for office space right now. And it's like a big warehouse. they got their office in the front, but they've got basketball in the back, like a roller hockey rink, a big chipping putting green thing with this giant tree house, and it's just incredible, man.
Yeah.
And so I view it as, if I could figure out how to pull that off now for my kids and rent that thing out for birthday parties and let other kids have a great time at it, like, I think that would be awesome. But I think if I had all the money in the world and all I had to do was just help kids, work out and enjoy sports and learn their lessons through sports, I think that would be what it would be. It would just be to have I don't know, man, just kind of pour into them. So I may regret that, coaching third grade football here in the fall. My first kind of head coaching foray here, so I may be tired of kids by the end of the fall.
We'll see. I'll ask you again. We'll have you back on.
Yeah, let's come back. Let's see how that one goes.
And so that plan's scratching that.
Yeah, we're done with that. I'm going to figure out how to rent beach chairs on the beach somewhere and run a little side hustle doing that.
Yeah. On that, so, okay, I want to jump back to a question. So let's say you are what would be like one – because I always think back, like, if I could tell myself when I was playing high school, like what, going through the athletic journey or whatever, like what would be that one piece of advice you would give to your younger high school Josh Bagby self?
Get a better haircut.
What kind of haircut, Jeff?
It was like a military flat top, dude. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Dude, it was – my wife busts me so hard every time she sees a picture of me in high school. Like, I don't know why I want it. For one, shorter hair with a helmet is the move. Like, it just is cooler, it's more comfortable, that kind of thing.
Aerodynamics.
Yeah, that's right, man. So easier, shower time, you're done, you're going. So yeah, get a better haircut. But I don't know, man. Again, like I don't have a ton of regrets. I felt like I worked hard, kind of maximized what ability that I had. Relationships, I would probably reiterate even more into relationships. And just to be more open to risk, because my parents were more, like my dad worked corporately, so it was like the security of a corporate job and that kind of thing. But like, man, when you're young like that, I'd say until you get married, if that's 25, 30, whenever, like take all the risk in the world, man. Like you can go back and live with your parents. There's some people that can't, but a lot of people can. You can have 6 roommates and sleep on a couch. Like there's so much flexibility in that, and just if you have a dream of something that you think you want to do, go run that thing down and try to figure it out before you have responsibilities and other people depending on you now. Like I look at that, like pulling the plug on the other agency and going to zero, like that was a very calculated thing. Like obviously as an insurance person, you try to avoid risk and mitigate as much as you can. So I did, but there's a lot of people that just wait their whole lives for retirement. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, just go try it early. And you've got literally nothing to lose.
Right.
Coming out of college, man, if I had $120 in my bank account, I was killing it. Like, how easy it is to make a couple $100. Like you can go, like it's not hard. So go run that down, see what you can do, see what you can scale. There's so much free information out there. Like just soak all that in. Twitter's or X, whatever we're calling it now. There's so much information there that you can just pour into and learn from. Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. You can really kind of learn how to do stuff without spending a ton of money doing it. And so many lessons learned. Even if you fail in the first 6 months, man, you learned a lot. I've got an MBA. I had a finance degree. I learned more in my first 6 months of business than I did in all 6 years of my college career.
100%.
So it's
1,000%.
Yep.
Exactly. It's like failure's never.
You only fail if you quit.
You only fail if you quit. You learn from it.
That's it.
And it's part of the long game.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. I love that. What okay, kind of on that, I guess, would you say the same thing as the next question was, if you could give one piece of advice to someone just starting out in business? So that person, or just starting out, maybe think back to when you first kind of came out in Providence. What would you say to that guy just in that space right there?
Stick with it. Insurance is tough. People think insurance is easy. It's a great career. Everybody has to have it. You got to have car insurance. Banks make you have homeowners. Like it's a need. For us, we're trying to figure out how to do it better than everybody else. We sell the same products everybody else does. How do you make it different? And relationships. Like life is about relationships. We talked about not what you know, who you know. That has continued to pop up. Like there's so many times that makes a difference. Lean into those relationships, lean into networking, be humble about it. Like, dude, you may think you're 22, 23, 24 and know everything. You don't. Like, sorry, you just haven't been around long enough to do it. You may be really smart, but there's so much that you can learn from older people. I would always lean into older agents and just try to pick their brain and don't try to be the smartest person in the room. If you are, or you think you are, you got to change rooms, man, because get around people that are where you want to be. Find people that are doing it right. I always like Southeast Restoration is a great example locally. Ben Looper and Kyle Sears, they do a good job. They hire good people, and it was a good. I count it as being thankful to kind of see that you can do it right in the business world here locally, and so I kind of try to, not track what they're doing. Ben and I are friends, but it's kind of just watching how they do it. Watch other people, and people are more than willing to help you. Yeah. You just got to ask for it, man. Like, they don't want to come to you. You're spotting somebody in the gym, or you see some kid doing an exercise completely wrong in the gym. You don't want to be that guy to go over there and, he's just going to drop the bar on his head and hurt him. Say, yeah, but you're not going to go tweak form. Like, I'm not going to tweak how you do business unless you ask for it.
Right,
and
exactly.
Then if you open yourself up to it, hey, man, you can take the advice or not. But I'm more than happy to give it to you. And there's a lot of people out there that will do that. An email, a phone call, anything. Weird kind of reach outs, you'd be surprised what kind of feedback you get and how quickly they're willing to give it to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll be shocked when you just learn how to ask for advice. How many people that are successful, I think, want to help because they can see the person who is starting out and they remember how tough it was.
100%.
But that person's, has to be willing to ask and want it. They have to want the will. And I think a lot of people might not think, oh, they're so successful, they're so busy, I don't want to bother them. But I feel like, at least in my experience, and even now, when you've reached a certain level of success, you want to give back. You want to pour into the younger people. Everybody's
got to eat. Coffee, lunch, so usually something during the business day like that they're going to do anyway. That's a great time. Family time gets tough. You get people wanting to do like happy hours and stuff like that. Gets really hard because it's time away from family that is limited anyway. But yeah, if you reach out, hey man, can I take you to lunch? Can I get you a cup of coffee? Something like that. They will sit down with you and give you the full blueprint top to bottom on how to do it. Just gotta ask. That's it.
All right, life questions.
Okay.
Let's talk about life for the next 3 hours.
Getting long in the tooth here, 37.
What's your favorite thing about? We kind of talked about before. What would you say is your favorite thing about Cherokee County?
The people.
This community.
That's it. It's kind of like the church, right? Like, the church is in a building. Like, this community is not the location. It's the people here. It's the people in the church. It's the people in the community. It's a special thing, man. Like, you could replicate this. You got main streets. You got cool downtown areas. You got, different retail space. Like, all this stuff can be replicated, but the people can't. And some of the history. Like, there's some cool stuff that happened here, and it's neat to kind of be connected to that in a weird way. But yeah, the people were like, there's not even a close second.
Absolutely. Undeniably. Like I said, that's what attracted us most to this community was the people, how special the people are. And I think that just continues to grow as groups like, Cherokee Connect. It just kind of formids the community together and creates that bond. I think we're all in this together, which is amazing. What's next for you? What's next for Providence? What's going on with any plans with Cherokee Connect? Kind of what's the future looking like for you?
Yeah, we've been the agency's been in growth mode hard. Some growing pains and learning and staffing. I hired somebody every Monday in May. We've hired 8 people in 12 months. It's been a lot, and I haven't been in the group a ton as far as content goes and all that. And so that's my goal is to kind of get back into that once we kind of have stabilized the business a little bit. I feel like we're getting caught up, getting staffed up where we can take care of everybody the way that we want to do it to our standard. And we haven't done a great job of that. Like, we've been a little slow with callbacks, and that stuff bugs me, but it's being tracked and we're trying to fix it. And so fixing all that, and then get back involved. I feel like it's been a 6 month, probably a year hiatus for me in the group, and just leaning into that and using it for the good that it was intended to do. But yeah, that's it. Spend more time with the family, figure out ways to do all that. Football will be a great one with my son. My daughter, it's easier to connect with my son. I think that's the way it is. He's into sports and everything. My daughter's into cheerleading and dance, and so I get to kind of be a dance dad too. I was a middle school cheerleader, which is probably that's a whole different podcast, but so it's kind of cool to be able to connect with her. And you look back at that, like, man, what an idiot I was to even sign up to do that in middle school. A whole different again, it is kind of a funny story, but how you end up doing that, and then it opens an opportunity to connect with my daughter over being a cheerleader at some point in my life. So
right.
it's kind of
all
cool.
meant to be.
So
God had a plan. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, and her thing is she loves just cuddling up and watching Little House on the Prairie right now, and I've got to purposely slow down to do that with her, because that's kind of her quality time. That's what she likes. With my son, it's playing video games with him and throwing in the yard and doing that kind of stuff. So just knowing that it's okay to put your phone down, step away from the computer, and go do that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And try to get a hobby. I'm not a great hobby guy. Business is my hobby, really.
Yep, exactly.
I enjoy that, but got to get back in the gym. It's been a 3.5 year hiatus probably of being consistent with it. And now that, you are getting a little older and you see that, like, that matters. You got to stay moving, doing what you do here, to where I can get down on the floor when I'm 75 years old with my grandkids and do that. Different kind of goals now.
Right.
Other than, not just trying to look good in a t-shirt anymore, trying to be able to get up with that out of the floor. So, but yeah, just being the best at whatever you can do, man. You're never going to get there,
yep.
But it's being content with the success that you do have. Because I think kind of as a builder, goal setter person, you hit that goal and it never feel like winning that state championship, whatever, my junior year, it probably wouldn't have been what it feels like it would be in my head. And you get there and then, man, you're just looking to the next goal. And it's like, God, man, just stop and enjoy it for a second. Enjoy my kids being 7 and 8. Enjoy, where the business is at.
Right.
So it's tough. It's a great problem to have. Absolutely blessed beyond measure, but just stop and enjoy it, man. Be thankful for it. So.
Exactly. Life is you only get one season once. Going through it, you got to just take it and appreciate the highs and the lows, and just
even the first 3 months of that baby.
Yep.
It may suck, but you only get to do those 3 months one time, and look for the great parts of it. But.
Exactly. No, I love it. We got to get you on the Proteus too. I think you'd love it. We got to get you moving on that. Oh, yeah.
It'd be a great time with the state of my dad bod right now. Like, man, let's set the bar low.
It'll humble you quick. It'll humble you quick.
Let's set the bar low and get after it and come back dad lead of the year or something.
I like it. Dad lead of the year. Yeah. We need to get like a dad lead competition here.
I'm so worried about my Achilles tendons, man. Like, I just like Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a couple years older than me. I'm like, dude, that just looks awful. And so yeah, trying to remember to stretch. I always like to give my wife a hard time. She's like, you should probably stretch a little bit. I'm like, have you ever seen a cheetah stretch? You ever seen them warm up? But she goes, you are far from a cheetah. So great to have a humbling influence there. Yeah. Great to have a humbling influence at the house.
The biggest thing is you got to get your body moving well. That's the biggest thing. I mean, movement's important, but it's the way we move, I would say, is even more important. That's where, like, in our office, we do a 3-part functional movement test with every person we see. So we assess your range of motion for your full body. We look at general movement patterns, how we can do basic fundamental movements that a human body should just be able to do naturally. And then we look at more complex patterns. How well can you take that and do more rotational, multiplanar types of movements that simulate real life and more sport-specific type movements. And we see, like, how well is your body moving? Is there anything painful, lacking mobility? Figure out. I didn't
see a bench in there, man. You talking about we can't just do bench press and curls?
Girls, we got curls for the girls.
That's it, man. It's a Friday. Sun's out, guns out. That was our Friday.
We'll do that after.
That's it, man. I should have done it. It's just filmed. Yeah, we need to.
We call it. There's a word for it. They call it dysfunctionally fit.
Who cares?
You got that.
As long as you look
good external. You look good, but man, we put that body to work. We're in trouble.
Just cut the sleeves out of it, man. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. There's a balance to it. It's both.
That's right.
It's and not a work.
That's right. Yin and yang, man.
Absolutely.
But, dude, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it was great having you on, Josh. I'm gonna say this then. You were my first podcast interview.
Really?
This is my first one. Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know.
How do we do?
You didn't tell me
Graded
that.
it.
Yeah, A plus. Man.
B plus. A plus.
A
Okay.
plus.
I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take it. Well, we'll have many more. We'll have you back.
I feel like hopefully we set the bar real high, man. I hate it.
Yeah,
For
we want to start out with a bang. I said, all right, who do we want to start out with? All right, let's go.
I did not know that.
Josh
That's
Miller.
cool,
Yeah,
man.
this is
Well,
it.
good.
So
We
we're
got a
gonna
good
roll.
little setup.
Yeah, we're gonna roll. Many more to come. Very cool. Working. We talked about people want to connect with you. Definitely doing amazing things with Providence. So anybody with insurance, like if you're doing insurance with anybody else, like this is your guy.
Well,
Go local. Go with someone here.
Not even that. Like on the insurance advice part, just holler at me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know a lot, but I know about insurance. So it's like there's so much bad information out there. Some of the insurance posts, you'll get some comments on there, and I'm like, well, that's fraud. That's fraud. So is that. Don't do that. Like it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So no, I am happy to talk insurance. So
Absolutely.
hit me up if you got a question. And
All right.
if we can help you, great. If not, no big deal. We'll get you in the future. But yeah, I just want you to be in a better insurance position after
Absolutely.
we
Where can
we
people
talk.
reach you at, find you at?
Yeah, I mean, I think I still have joshbagby.com, but I think it directs to providenceprotects.com, Facebook. Most people find me on Facebook. Is Boomer.
Yeah, Cherokee Connect. I think there's a Facebook group.
There is a
I
Facebook
think you can
group.
find them on that.
I know it's very boomer of me to not be super active on the TikTok.
Yeah, still.
I can't do
I'm
that.
not even on that.
I can't do it. Yeah,
I'm waiting to see how that all
before it's
plays
illegal
out.
or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I heard Elon might be bringing his own Vine. Because
Yeah.
X owns Vine.
You know that Vine was created by a Sequoia graduate. He was one of the original.
Really?
Yeah, he was one of the originals.
Did not know that.
Yep.
They still live around here? Probably not.
I don't know. I really don't. Katie, my wife, went to high school with him. But yeah, that's the Vine guys were one of the things. He could probably get. At one point, that thing was worth
Oh, a lot.
a lot.
A lot.
I think they turned down a Facebook offer early on, and then they did Instagram, which was probably
Right.
they asked them that regret decision. They probably wish they'd sold it the first time. But
Yeah. So
I think they still did pretty well.
Yeah.
But no, man, yeah, you can find me that way. Google me. I don't know. That's probably the best way to find the email and phone number.
Yeah. Josh Bagby. All right. Appreciate having you on.
Thanks, man.
You got it.
Yep.